the my 650 DR650. There's a lot of torque, infinite frickin' torque. Not a lot of traction. Oh, this thing is kind of nuts. Just need to ride it at like crazy height here. But it's actually pretty maneuverable feeling. Front end is feeling very planted. Alright, so now we're into the single track on this 501. Yeah, this feels exactly like riding my DR650. Obviously with better suspension and chassis and all that, but the power band is actually surprisingly similar in that there's just a ton of torque and you don't really need to use the clutch very much. The bike feels very nimble. I'd say between the 350 and the 500, the maneuverability is very similar. You don't really feel like the engine is affecting that at all. And it might be because the Husky is a little bit lower to the ground, so the center of gravity is a little lower. But it's a very maneuverable bike. It's got lots of traction. I actually really like it. This is very nice. This might also be one of those linkage suspension things, which I'm supposed to show you. I really prefer linkage versus BDS. BDS is good for some stuff, but for like majority of stuff, linkage is just nice. So yeah, power plant wise, I would definitely prefer the 350, things like this, but it doesn't feel any lighter. Just this, the engine characteristics a lot smoother, and it's less scary to ride it, a little bit more aggressively. But weight wise and just maneuverability wise, it's basically the same. This bike's very nimble still. I don't think it gives anything away to the 350. Kind of get used to the power a little bit. It's a little easier to manage. Just have to ride up a gear basically. Does not give up anything on the single track. 500 is a freaking awesome machine. Would not be my choice for this kind of stuff, just because the power is a little sketchy, as in there's just too much. But if you're doing maybe some longer type riding and also single track, this is the bike to have for sure. Because the other thing that's kind of awesome about the 500s is that they're single overhead cam, so the valve train is just simpler. You can hear me how little I'm revving it, so the maintenance is easier because the oil change intervals are less. And yeah, in general, this is a pretty awesome motorcycle. And I can see why certain people like it. Like if you want to be a lazy rider, you don't really need to use the clutch very much. Because, not that you really need to use it that much on the 350, but on this bike, you can pretty much, I'm only using it when I have to jab the rear brake so I don't stall. But in general, I'm in third gear, and you can probably ride from whatever I'm doing here now, like 14 miles an hour maybe, bet this thing will probably go 50 in third gear. Wonder if Burns wants his motorcycle back. I'm back on my 350 after riding Burns's FE501 for a bit. Burns is in front of me on Phil's FE501, and yeah, the 350 is definitely a much more manageable bike. I really like it. Unless you were doing wide open stuff, I would definitely pick the 350 over the 500 personally. 500 is capable, but this is just so much easier to ride. It just feels more light and nimble, and you can kind of do whatever on it. Again, weight-wise, it's not a huge deal, but this just feels more manageable. And the power is just so much smoother. You know, it's a difference of being a passenger and a rider. I feel like I'm riding this bike, and on a 501 or 500, I just feel like I'm a passenger. Like I just can kind of generally direct the bike in the right general direction, but overall it just does whatever the hell it wants. And it's like steering a ship. Alright, so now we're riding Phil's bike. This is a FE501 again, but this is the S version. So yeah, the power on this one is, so it's probably more comparable to my bike. Power on this one is very similar to my 300. It's a little bit more torque, but it's definitely more tame than Burns' bike. But yeah, as I was saying, I think to summarize 350 versus 500, if you're doing a bunch of long rides, desert riding, that kind of stuff, and you're maybe a little bit of a lazier rider where you just don't want to use the clutch too much and you want to ride in one gear the whole time, 500, awesome bike. It can do everything. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, ride tighter single track, really move around on the bike, rev it, and maybe race, I think the 350 is an easier bike to ride in those situations. And you will absolutely go faster on it, in my opinion. It's more confidence inspiring. And power-wise, I feel like they're actually pretty similar. I'm riding this S version. Mine's a exc-f, so it's also street legal. And this does not feel like it is that much faster than my 350. Yeah, as far as just being lazy on a bike, you could definitely, like, I'm barely ever touching the clutch on this bike. It's got a lot of over rev, and it also has a ton of pull and torque. But so another thing, both of these 501s vibrate a lot more than that 350. It is very noticeable. It's the first thing I notice. So when it comes to maybe doing longer rides, something to keep in mind. This bike is much more vibey than the 350. If you're sensitive to that, it might get kind of annoying. I'm actually pretty sensitive to vibration after having a 690 for several years, and it would definitely bother me quite a bit.